Okay, this is Nick Dutch, following on from the continuing in your own words thing, which is going out on the atheist community. What this is a group of people who are just telling their stories on YouTube about their deconversion from Christianity, and I just want to put in my 2 cents. When I was in school, I went to a religious education class, as we always did. We called it RE in England. And there was a RE teacher there who was trying to explain the idea of death and rebirth in a mystical way. Now, when I was younger, I went to Sunday school, and I was told or taught about a very literalist interpretation of spirituality, life after death, and all that kind of stuff. And when I was in the RE class, I found it very hard to listen to a different points of view on the same subject. It was quite impossible for me. I kind of say, well, yeah, you're talking about this in terms of character change and personality, and the fact that death in a religious sense or in a spiritual sense does not mean the death of your body. What are you talking about? You're talking rubbish, because you haven't actually died when you've gone through a change. But what I now realize is what he was trying to communicate to me was that of different points of view. And that there was one point of view which was literalism, in which you say, yes, God exists. That's it. Fine. Finito. He really did come down and have sex with a lady who was betrothed to be married to Joseph or whatever the fuck it was. And hey presto, that's what created Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ really was the Son of God. You know, that's the way that I was told previously. When I was in this religious education class, I found it difficult to equate this quasi-mystical interpretation of real, regular Christianity with what I was taught when I was in Sunday school. I really could not do that at that time. I went through various different stages of my life after that. Of course, I made my apostasy away from Christianity, and I got involved with the pagan movement. And within the pagan movement, I personally experienced, and this is just my experience, the same quality of literalism that I had experienced within Christianity. I started reading more books about the occult. They started speaking of a more mystical interpretation and a more sort of psychological interpretation, and a sense of there's things we don't know in the world, but this is what seems to happen. And I thought, well, that's very interesting. But I didn't really find people within the occult movements who were capable of seeing the world that way. But the people I met in the occult movement spoke of reliable results occurring as a result of occult activity, which is what I was interested in, because I was and still am a very sickly individual. I have a variety of chronic fatigue syndrome, which is still with me and still affects my performance and my ability to do a normal day's worth of work. But that's another story altogether. Alright, so when I left the pagan movement and I tried to find myself, so to speak, I eventually stumbled upon the interpretation I have now. I've gone through an awful lot of things, including, and this is just me being open about this, recovering from chronic alcoholism. I was a chronic alcoholic for over one and a half decades. And I read various books which suggested the use of what they called spirituality as a means of dealing with the psychological problems which are left over from something as tragic and mind and life destroying as chronic alcoholism. And I thought that was interesting because there were little bits in those books which had direct correlations with things that I had heard in Sunday school but which hadn't properly been explained to me. And I realized that there was something within religion which is not of the literalist stuff of, Jesus Christ really did exist, he really was the Son of God, God really does exist, but there's something about the actions which can be done within religious behavior, which is somehow good for you under some circumstances, and essentially is that which needs to be focused in on rather than necessarily all of the literalist stuff. I'm sure I've mentioned this in previous videos. When I went into the pagan world, there was one guy who was the high priestess, third degree initiate or whatever of a particular coven, and he was literally just trying to terrify me into worshipping his horn god in his particular way and doing everything his way. And I thought, what the fuck is the difference between this guy trying to terrify his evil shit into me and a fundamentalist Christian saying, no, Jesus Christ really did exist, you've got to believe in him, go out in rags and preach the gospel. I mean, what the fuck is the difference? Basically, there wasn't any. So I'm glad to be a pagan apostate. I'm glad not to be in that society and community. I'm glad to be able to see that there are some things within even Christianity which need further elaboration and have some importance. I'm still shocked with members of the pagan world for not only following the fundamentalist Christian methodology, but even in some cases making it worse than fundamentalist Christianity. I'm appalled by that, I still am. And I'm looking to find ways of promoting a different message to you guys. Namely that, number one, strange things happen under some strange circumstances. They seem to happen under the conditions of a religious experience, so learn how to make that happen. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in Jesus Christ. You don't have to believe in anything. That's not important at all. There is some importance, and I'm going to use the word some here because otherwise it'll sound like I'm trying to beat something into you, but I'm not. There is some importance to certain forms of activity and some concepts which are held within religion for a person's personal self-development when under trying conditions. So you could say that an intention, not necessarily the intention, but an intention behind trying to bring people up to be religious is to provide that psychological safety net to make it less likely that when life gets harder and unexpected things occur to you that can have a detrimental effect upon your ability to be a well-adjusted member of society, that there's something else there which is going to make it less likely that you're going to fuck up. And that's something which is basically is being neglected by the atheist community at the moment. And that's something which has not been properly elaborated upon by people who are religious. So there's two opposing schools of thought who are attacking each other on fundamentalist grounds, but not on the grounds of why are these other concepts in religion, what was their original intended purpose, how can they be used in a constructive way for the benefit of human beings in the modern era, which is full of science, knowledge of evolution, abiogenesis, Big Bang Theory, but life is still complex and difficult for people. Alright? Anyway, that's my point of view. You can make of it what you will. Comments in the comment section, video responses, all the rest of that. Rate, comment, subscribe, favourite and share. And I look forward to having another rant at you at some other point in time. Good fortune, God and or Goddess, and all none of the above bless. Nick Dutch signing out for now.